And we're live. Welcome back to another episode of Professor and the Idiot. I'm Nick Wolfinger.
And I'm Dalton Whitehead.
And what's on your mind, Dalton?
America. America's always on my mind.
Yep, it's always on my mind, too.
When Donald Trump, his campaign slogan was "Make America Great Again." What did you think about that?
That fucking pissed me off. I tweeted, and I'll remember it almost verbatim. I said, America's already fucking great. I understood the logic of the slogan, though. It's appealing to people who feel they've lost something. A former way of life, fewer immigrants, more factory jobs, or a world of more factory jobs, because it turns out people really don't like working in factories. So
it's not fun work.
Yeah. It was people often forget that. I mean, Trump's understanding of the economy is really based on something that happened decades ago. Thinks that a strong America is where we're all working in factories, and people don't want to work in factories. People want jobs. They want jobs, and they want good-paying jobs. It pissed me off, but I understood the logic. It was appealing. It was backward-looking. It's very conservative. It's saying, the past was better, but we can get back there again.
Yeah.
What did you think?
Kind of like you. I kind of get where he's what he's getting at, or the type of people that statement would appeal to. I've seen my dad, who's 54, be 55 in December. He, throughout my life, would always look back at when he was a kid as that was the good old days, and he'd always say you could walk down the street with a BB gun and nobody'd think twice. He'd have a few examples of, but obviously that's a very anecdotal circumstance or piece of evidence as why America was great back then.
You could open carry in many states.
Well, you still can't today, so.
No, in many states you can open.
Today? Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's true. My brother does it all the time, which he's a listener to the podcast, so he'll enjoy awesome. another shout out. I get what he's saying, but I don't know. It's I feel like it's getting better. There's certain things that I'm a little concerned about, or definitely I would do away with a lot of stuff, but as far as just quality of life, I feel like is getting better and better.
Oh, yeah. By virtually every measure, Steven Pinker is right about this. Life is much, much better. Our standard of living is higher. We generally live longer. Our health is better. There is less discrimination against any kind of minority than there used to be. In all these regards, the world is a much better place. I will point out that it's not only conservatives who have this nostalgia for the 1950s. For a time when there were good-paying jobs and one income was enough to buy a house and a car and a stay-at-home spouse. Liberals also have nostalgia, but their nostalgia is for a time when income inequality was far lower and unions were much stronger, and there were many more of them. So everyone can do it.
Yeah, I feel like that's just natural. It's happened throughout history of people just going, man, this is when it was great.
Yep. I mean, I think even the ancient Greek philosophers talked about how fucked up the kids seemed. And if you're an adult, the kids always seem fucked up.
What do you think has gotten worse? You're I wouldn't consider you old, but you're older than me.
Yes.
What's gotten worse since you were my age, 20-ish, that you wish hadn't gotten worse or would go back to how it was?
That's an interesting question, and I can't say I've given it a lot of thought, even though I remember quite well. In terms of politics, they weren't as nasty back then. Certainly there were disagreements, but in when I was growing up and when I was a young person in the 80s, a young adult, there was no talking about your opponent as being un-American, treasonous. That's newer. There was far less, politics divided us far less. Some data that get trotted out all the time is you go back 50 years ago and only 2% of people, some tiny percentage, said they would object to their kid marrying someone of the different political party. Now that number is almost 50%.
Wow.
Yeah, it's really high. So we were less divided in many ways back then. I think that's one thing.
I wonder, I'm sure you maybe know what the stats on your child marrying somebody of a different race, how that's changed.
Yeah. I've done some research and looked at some data on that. Interracial marriages have skyrocketed, and that's really good news. That means there are fewer boundaries between the races.
Yeah, I feel like that's like just a natural. I mean, obviously, if all these different races are living in the country, a lot of them are going to be doing some fucking.
I hope so.
Yeah, so it's just like a natural progression where, you always like hear stories of, maybe racist or homophobic people or people like that have certain views, and then they just get to know somebody that they initially didn't like, and then they go, wow, well, this person's kind of like me. I mean, it's like the movie History X. He's white supremacist Nazi, then goes to prison.
Oh yeah, that's a great movie.
Yeah, becomes friends with a black dude and just goes, oh my goodness, I've been wrong my whole life.
And one of the things I really loved about that movie was it's sort of ambiguous. When the dude is a Nazi, you get some sense of why being a Nazi is appealing to him. I won't go so far as to say it's glamorized, but it's a more realistic proposal. And then he has a conversion, which happens. There's a great article out this week in, I think, Politico, with an interview of a woman who was a big alt-right journalist with Breitbart, and how she got too racist for them, and now she's unemployable because she basically just got too extreme. It was an interesting profile of how she became so extreme, and then how her politics bounced back. Now she's waiting tables.
Wow.
Yeah, it's a really interesting profile.
I was thinking about this today, about Is America Great? And, correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like there's never been a country that has changed culturally as much as America. Would you say that? Like, we're very malleable with our culture.
I totally disagree. And
really?
Why? Look at Germany and Japan before World War II and after.
Okay.
You see my point, right? They went from dysfunctional and murderous countries to peaceful, thriving countries. That's change.
But I feel like that came out of just defeat and force, not like voluntary change.
That is true, but it didn't have to quite work out that way, and for a variety of reasons. And you contrast that with World War I, where the peace treaty, the Treaty of Versailles, was the worst imaginable, and though Germany was defeated, it did not change in the necessary ways. So anyhow, force, yes, but also some voluntary change. What American change are you referring to?
Um, just like maybe views on race and uh, homosexuality. You know, I mean, there's still countries where gays are being stoned to death, and I don't know. I feel like it's not as well. I don't know.
Oh,
I guess you got me thinking, but I mean, I just imagine America in the 1850s, and then I think about it now,
yeah.
and
Oh,
it's
yeah.
like it's a different planet
Oh, you are
or a
right.
different country.
You are right. There has been, tremendous progress on that front. America had a, you know, slavery was America's virtually unique sin, at least in the developed world, and there's been a lot of progress. There's not total progress, obviously. We've talked about race more when we did the interview with Rod Phillips, and go listen to that one if you haven't. It's one of my favorite pods we've done. But we made progress.
Tons of progress, and I think it's only going to continue to progress, barring some catastrophic situation where we all resort to shooting each other for food.
I hope so, but certainly Trump and all the race baiting associated with his movement seems like a big step backward.
I'm definitely with you on that. Do you feel like there's some of that on the far left that's not helping things at all?
Oh, certainly, certainly. On the far left, there's much that is destructive, that indeed is illiberal. Antifa is terrible. I've written about them. Um, yeah, definitely. There's a far left that's awful
Yeah.
and just destructive and not cannot really contribute to a functioning pluralist democracy. Oh yeah, no argument there. But you know that.
Yeah, for sure. Is America great?
I have given a lot of thought to this question in the last few days. Um, and if I had to answer in one word, I would say yes, but I have a lot of qualifications. Some background. Have you heard the expression American exceptionalism?
I've heard that, but I might need you to define it. My first initial thought is like everybody just thinks America's great in every aspect when
Yeah,
it's not.
yeah. I mean, it means that America. That's basically what it means. That America is a special nation and has a special destiny. It Part of it stems from our revolution and how we freed ourselves from the most powerful country on the planet then, which was England. It Furthermore, a lot of it came from Alexis de Tocqueville. He's a Frenchman who visited the U.S. first in the 1820s and wrote very influential books about America and Americans. He's the first person to describe us as an exceptional people. I actually tweeted about this, made a sort of a joke tweet about this earlier today. I said, according to Tocqueville's Democracy in America, dot, 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 and then in parentheses, all the rest of my Twitter, because so many people writing anything refer to Tocqueville and said, Tocqueville said this about America. And it's like it's a cliche.
Hmm.
Many writers and politicians have evoked it since then, and sometimes we think of that kind of patriotism as a Republican thing, but no, everyone does it. For instance, Obama, in his Nobel Prize speech in 2009, mentioned American exceptionalism. And the most obvious points that I would invoke to defend it is that we've demonstrably been the most powerful country in the world, at least since World War I ended in 1918, and indisputably since World War II ended in 1945 and left most of the other countries in the world exhausted or broken. We've since led the world in military strength, economic strength, cultural strength. Think how popular our movies are abroad. And
Yeah, to me,
yeah,
that's maybe the greatest impact America has is the art that America has produced,
oh,
the
yeah,
music, the movies,
yeah,
everything.
yeah,
It's
yeah.
largely we're the best in the world at creating awesome shit.
Um, I wouldn't phrase it quite like that, but yes, American culture is hugely influential all over the world. And until recently, this was all reflected in our standard of living. We live better than everyone else. We had higher per capita incomes, which ultimately is one of the most important things. But that's not true anymore.
Because the government.
No.
Because those fucking taxes.
Nope. Nope.
Nah, that's right.
A lot of countries pay a lot more taxes than we do.
So today I listened to a podcast on the KGB. It's this podcast, Time Suck. It's with this comedian who, it's a very informative podcast. I mean, he does it on wide-ranging topics. But this one was on KGB, Russian police, spies, gulags, all that stuff.
Yeah.
And and we've talked about that in the past, but man, it made me so grateful.
Yes. Yeah.
Again, and living the time.
We are really lucky we are Americans in 2019.
Yeah.
I've intermittently read a lot about the Soviet Union. I returned to it recently. I just finished Stephen Kotkin. He's a Princeton, I think, professor who's written 2 volumes of a biography of Stalin, and this one was the first. I just finished the first volume, which is like 800 pages, and yeah, it's unspeakably awful.
Yeah, I feel like it's not talked about enough.
No,
I mean,
no.
Everybody wants to talk, like, Bill Burr has a great joke about how Hitler's like the Michael Jordan of evil. Like, he's just the name that everybody mentions, but there's like tons of evil outside of that.
I was actually talking about this the other night with my better half and trying to come up with an answer in my mind. Why is it that Hitler is a symbol of evil when Stalin and Mao each killed more people than Hitler, just as a measure of pure evilness? And I don't know, it's because we defeated Hitler. Hitler was our enemy in a war, and we defeated him because the image of murdering people in factories is so stark and horrific. Is that it?
That, and maybe because there's way more, or a lot more video and pictures of Hitler, because like I know there's footage of Stalin, but I feel like there's not a ton, at least
you're right.
In the mainstream. I'm sure there is, but with Hitler you can see him screaming his head off on the podium, and and the gigantic crowds of followers, and the soldiers all stepping in sync. There's a lot of footage and pictures of him.
There is. Part of that is certainly because the Germans were a much more developed country at the time than Stalinist Russia or Maoist China. They had more cameras, better cameras. They were more organized. They had better propaganda apparatus, and they documented everything. And Hitler exerted more power through his public speaking than Stalin or Mao did.
Yeah. Do you feel like Hitler was also a lot more offensive in his evil?
That's...
as far as like trying to take over the world, whereas Soviet Union, communism, they
wanted to take over the world.
But more with the ideology than tanks and planes.
They conquered less. Stalin conquered less than Hitler, but think of all those countries that in Eastern Europe that went communist after World War II just because the Soviet Union occupied them. But I see your point, right? It's just Uh, they're all awful, but Hitler we have the popular image of him being the symbol of the Michael Jordan of evil, so he is.
Yeah, and he just has a hateable face.
Yeah.
You just look at him and you're just like, fuck that guy.
Yeah. But we should all, those three are, three of just history's biggest monsters.
You know what? I think I figured it out.
But
Hitler's mustache sucked and Stalin's didn't. That's why. He had the shittiest mustache of all time. Stalin, pretty good mustache. Respectable mustache.
Yeah, but Mao didn't have a mustache.
Nah, nobody cares about him.
But you should, because he has the
I know.
death toll.
Yeah, that's crazy. Most people don't know about that.
No.
So what are you most optimistic about the way America is going?
What am I most optimistic? So at some point later, I have a lot of data showing that America isn't so great. But part of it is just my sense of exceptionalism, that we've done well so far. Certainly we've made many mistakes. We've done some shitty things in the past, as some of which came up during the pod we did last week with Victor Wallace, whom I still owe an email to. Sorry, Victor. I'll get back to you. But yeah, we've done well. We have the Constitution is a flawed document, but it's still a remarkable document. We have a ton of human capital. And I'm not just saying this because I work at one, but we still have the best system of higher education in the world, which will produce more smart people who will produce more innovations.
That's why the smartest people from around the world come here.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying they're not great universities in other countries, but certainly American higher education we have the best system overall, the largest collection of good schools. And that's hugely important to the economy and, everything.
Yeah. Okay, what are you most worried about?
All right, well, let's get into the negatives here. And a lot of this is readily available online, and, it's pretty measured pretty indisputably. So now, in terms of media income per person out of the 43 most developed countries, we're now fourth. So still pretty good, but, there are people who have more money than we do. On the other hand, out of that 43, we are 33rd in terms of income inequality, only 10 or more unequal. And income inequality, I think, poses a great danger, in particular because the richest people like to exert their power to keep themselves rich.
Now, that comes up a lot with, like, the Bernie Sanders crowd is the gap in between the rich and the poor. But in this process, are the poor getting richer? Because I hear that statement all the time, the rich get richer and the poor get poorer. But that's not really true, right?
No, the poor, this will instantly get more complicated, but the poor are very slowly increasing their incomes, but at a rate, whereas the rich, their incomes are just spiraling out of control. It's certainly why inequality matters is a big question, but I think the biggest concern is just if you're really rich, you can bend the rules in your favor, and that's happened. And that's, I don't think, not the democracy that either of us want.
They bend the rules using government?
Using government.
So that's why we need to limit it, right?
Limit what?
The government. Then the rich people won't really have an influence, right?
You keep saying that, but you have to say what part you want to limit.
Just the size of it?
Well, that doesn't answer the question.
Bombing and incarcerating people at mass scale?
We talked about that. Yeah, we don't want to, we both, but everyone now realizes that. Everyone realizes that we've incarcerated too many people, and the Trump government, to its credit, passed legislation to decrease the number of federal prisoners last year. That's good. So, and certainly we've talked a lot about, about America's military interventions. But I don't think that's the size of the government isn't directly related to inequality. So I think it's a problem for that reason, and there are many studies that actually show that regions that have more inequality just produce worse outcomes in terms of marriages and health and many other things. That's a big topic. Anyhow, so we are not good in inequality in terms of inequality. We have in the last 12 years, we of those 43 countries, we have the second to worst increase in the unemployment benefits we spend. That's troubling to me. We're right in the middle of those 43 in terms of public spending. We're in the middle on home ownership. Here's a complicated finding, but it's important. Almost 60% of Americans in the bottom lowest fifth of incomes spend more than 40% of their incomes on housing. In other words, there's a very large percentage of Americans who spend too much money on housing because that's the only housing they can get, and that leaves them with not enough money for everything else, and we're bad compared to most other on that regard compared to most other countries.
How do you fix it?
How do we fix it? Fuck. I think smarter people than I would struggle with that. But certainly I think there need to be some big changes in the tax code, for starters. How about, or I'll stop with the economic indicators and talking about some health indicators. Out of those 43 countries, we're 28th in life expectancy. Despite having the highest health expenditures, we're in the bottom 25 in HIV rate, AIDS deaths, the bottom third for suicide deaths. The finding that's gotten a lot of attention is declining life expectancy for white people in their 50s. Which is really the first time life expectancy has ever declined. That's only in America. That's fucked up.
Because people are fat as fuck.
That's one reason. These are often called deaths of despair because that rate is fueled by suicide and opiate overdoses and stuff. But that's tragic. That's a national crisis. And one more, and all the stuff. Lists I made, we talk about America as a land of opportunity where anyone can get rich, but in terms of, compared to European countries, we're 12th out of 17 in terms of economic mobility, in terms of our ability to do better than our parents did. That's not great.
My first thought is that sustainable to have every generation do better than the previous?
I don't know. But just think about how much of the American dream and our self-image is premised on that, right? Things are getting better. We'll be able to outdo our parents. I don't know if it's sustainable, but it always has been.
Yeah, but that's because we've been coming from super low life expectancy, dying of disease, but now I feel like we're at a point where it's like a certain part of me is like, well, can we be content for the most part?
We should.
What more do we need? I mean, if we have housing and water and food regularly available and pretty good healthcare. Like I know there's issues with all of those things that it could be better, but at the same point, it's just like, well, what do you expect? Do you expect a giant mansion? Like, if I have grandkids someday, are they gonna have a giant mansion and helicopters? How much?
Yeah.
When's it gonna end?
Right. Fuck if I know. But think about if suddenly your great-great-grandfather who lived in 1900 suddenly walked into your place, and he could not conceive of the things you have. He couldn't conceive of fucking air conditioning.
And then he called me a pussy for complaining about anything in my life.
And he would be jealous as shit. What? You can get hot water out of a tap? Lights you're not burning whale oil or natural gas for light? He would be fucking amazed. And so maybe in 100 years people will say the same, right? You guys died of cancer? That's crazy.
Yeah.
So I fuck if I know. I'm not smart enough or knowledgeable enough to know.
Yeah, that is one thing. Like Victor brought up is like the the growth, like the nonstop growth of capitalism isn't sustainable. And like when he said that, in my mind, I was just like, well, what's wrong with just the status quo? Like, why does it have to grow if everybody's making money? It doesn't. In my mind, it's like, well, it doesn't have to grow as long as it just stays where it's at, or I don't know.
But that's not. I see your point. Maybe it can in terms of standard of living, but that's not how capitalism works. Your stock doesn't gain value unless your company is expanding. I mean, broadly speaking, right? Your company isn't. If your company is growing, and everyone else's company is growing, then we're moving forward.
Yeah, but if you're making $1 million of profit every year, why does it have to be 1.2 million the next year? It's like, well, I mean, $1 million profit.
What kind of capitalist are you? Why would you?
I'm a content capitalist.
Okay. Okay. First, two answers to that. One, I think it's great. People who practice, gratitude in their lives are happier. I should do more of it. On the other hand, unless capitalism doesn't work, unless there's incentive to earn more.
Why? Why not just incentive to earn? But why does it have to be more and more and more every year? Isn't that what a lot of people complain about? Is all the rich getting richer and richer and richer?
Well, exactly right. If the rich are getting richer, that means that, there's some of the money the rich are making is not going to everyone else. It's discouraging. Now,
so it's good if the rich are getting richer.
Oh yeah, the rich should be getting richer, but everyone should be getting richer.
Okay.
Yeah, everyone.
A lot of people. There's a lot of people on the internet that would very much disagree with rich people getting richer.
I mean, if I look at individual cases, right? If I look at Mark Zuckerberg, does he need $10 more billion? No, of course not. But as a class of people, sure. I think it's one of AOC's, Alexander Ocasio-Cortez's staffers says something remarkable. He said, every time I see a billionaire, I see a policy error, meaning they just shouldn't exist.
Why?
For the reasons that people don't want the rich getting richer. They think they have enough and it's hurting other people.
I disagree. Yeah. I don't see how it's hurting people. I mean, America's awesome. It's getting more and more awesome throughout the years.
All right. Right? So I want to see the rich collectively as a class getting richer, but not, I want to see everyone else getting richer too.
Here's what we need. We need to get all the millionaires and billionaires to do a bunch of psychedelic drugs, and they'll go, you know what? I don't need as much as I got, and then they'll voluntarily pay employees more and give more, and then we don't need the government to take it from them. that's ideal.
Well, certainly, the economist Russ Roberts, who has a really well-known podcast called Econ Talk, sort of makes this point. He's a libertarian, and he says, for example, before, if less money were going to public schools, talked about people used to give to charity that would feed people, and now people give to charity that builds museums and stuff just because the government is feeding them. Now, I disagree with him, but you're not the only one to make arguments like that. But don't know if every the rich people would do that enough consistently to actually provide the social welfare we need.
Well, then we have to get together as a community, and if there's 350 million people, if everybody donates $1,
yeah,
that's a lot of dollars to do stuff.
$350 million. Well, depends upon what you want to do. It's what taxes are for, Dalton.
Ugh, gross. The taxes are to arrest people for nonviolent crimes and bomb poor people across the world.
Taxes do plenty of other things.
But a lot of it's to bomb people. Spent $5 trillion plus in the past 20 years bombing people. So.
Shit. And, I took mushrooms more than once. They really didn't do that much for me.
Well, if you did them again, maybe they would. Not telling you to, but it's not for everybody. Yeah. But I think if more people were doing them and talking about them, then I think the world would be, at least there would be more positive interactions in the world.
So how do you respond to all these statistics showing that America isn't doing well in many respects?
In what respects?
Oh, I mentioned lack of economic mobility. People are spending too much money on housing, low in life expectancy, low in not doing well in HIV rates, AIDS deaths, suicide deaths. I didn't even mention earlier infant mortality, but it's very high here compared to the rest of the developed world, and low mobility. So,
to me, we should stop taking money from people's paychecks that are trying to work and pay for this expensive housing. That's step number one. The life expectancy, that's what happens when you listen to the government when they tell you what foods to eat, and the biggest food group is grains and pasta and carbs. So that's why people got fat as fuck, because like, the government said that's what we should be eating. Fat's bad. Let's eat a bunch of bread. Now everybody's dying.
So it's better for people to listen to the private sector about what they should be eating?
As far as I can see, the food the government's feeding kids throughout the whole country is pure poison, garbage food.
What are they feeding kids?
Garbage. I'm not that far removed from high school. I very much remember the type of food that is fed to kids in high school.
Huh.
It's not good food. It is very unhealthy.
Huh. I know that was one of the things Michelle Obama was invested in doing.
It didn't change.
People made fun of her for it. And then Republicans started circulating rumors like Obama was going to ban baby sales.
And also parents are, I think, because parents are like, the school will feed them, so they don't think twice about it, but parents are also fucking up because they feed their kids garbage. They take them to McDonald's all the time, and just to shut them up and make them happy, they pump them full of sugar.
Okay.
Then the kids get addicted to bad food. They're sitting inside more playing video games that are out riding their bikes and breaking their arms and skinning their knees and shit. I sound like an old man saying this, but I feel like it's true. Parents need to, I've seen it in real life of a coworker I used to have. Him and his wife are overweight, and then they feed their kids fucking garbage, and then their daughter's overweight, and then that's probably going to carry on through middle school, high school. She's going to have low self-esteem and probably have a lot of issues with that, of not feeling like she's healthy and looks good. It's just a snowball effect of there's a lot of shitty ass parents out there.
Although what you have described is totally a social class thing, because parents who are middle and upper middle class, they're not feeding their kids shit. They're making sure their kids are doing activities. They're not. The less money you have, the fatter you are. Right? So it's a big.
But I don't.
class thing.
But I don't think that's an excuse.
No,
because
just an explanation.
I've been broke as fuck before, and a bag of frozen vegetables is 90 cents.
Yeah.
And that could be like 3 people's servings of vegetables. I think it's late. A lot of it's just laziness, because I've seen that meme or seen things online so much of people like, oh, it costs $1 for a cheeseburger, and then they'll have a picture of some super organic, expensive salad and be like, this costs this much. What's up with that?
Yeah.
And it's like, I've been in that scenario.
Yeah.
I've been paycheck to paycheck, broke as fuck. And guess what? Chicken breasts are cheap as shit.
Yeah.
Frozen vegetables are just as nutritious, if not more nutritious, than sometimes buying fresh, because if they freeze them right when they're picked, they still contain all the nutrients.
So, but you're remarkable, Dalton, in this, right? Most people are not so conscious about their health as either of us, for that matter, right? We're both constantly, doing jujitsu or other workouts every day and worrying about what we eat. Most people just aren't like that.
Well, that's a problem.
Yeah.
And I don't know what the solution is.
Yeah.
I mean, if we're going to have government, if the government's going to take our money and pay for these public schools, they need to do better, pure and simple. And then I don't think the solution comes from taking more money. I think it means, what are our priorities with the money that we're taking? And I think that's so far off, it's unbelievable.
Obamacare contained a lot of provisions for preventative medicine. Many different things. The one that, some of the most obvious are free checkups and, free flu shots and that kind of thing. But there's many others. There were other programs to try to encourage prevention. Many insurance, and here's a more capitalist way of doing it. My employer, there was a wellness provision for my insurance where if I participate in wellness activities like going to the gym, getting a physical exam, and doing some other shit every year, I get $30 a month or so off my insurance. I do that.
Yeah. I think it needs to start with kids, though.
Yeah.
Kids are the number one thing. Yeah. If we're going to have public schools, especially for kids in elementary, recess should be longer, more often. I don't know. It's a giant mess, and I'm kind of ranting, and maybe people listening to this think I'm talking out of my ass, but it's much harder to fix adults than it is kids.
You raise really good points. It's just the solutions are complex. So
there's way too much homework too. I don't think kids should have homework for like high school. There's it's like kids in elementary having homework. It's like, well, they could be spending that time playing and doing physical exercise, but they gotta do homework.
Oh yeah, a lot of people think the amount of homework we have is just crazy out of control, and they point to a place like Finland where the schools have much better outcomes and they do almost no homework. So there's something wrong, something not working. But so what does this say about American greatness that we don't have, on a lot of social, health, economic indicators, we're not doing as well as we might? Are we still great?
I think we're great, but I'm a little worried.
Okay.
I'm very grateful,
and
as a person who loves history and enjoys, realize that most of us today are living a life most people couldn't even fathom.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's.
And I try and remind myself of that all the time. So I'm a generally positive person. Yeah,
I think that's great. That's admirable.
But I'm a little worried with, I don't know, just. I feel like Joe Rogan's talked about this idea, like our biology hasn't caught up with our technology. I think that's why a lot of people are unhappy, and suicide rates is something that always comes up, because it's like we haven't experienced living in societies like this until very, very
I
recently.
think that's a smart point.
And I don't think, as much of a capitalist I am, part of me goes, I don't know if it's good for us mentally, though. I think we do best in small communities where we know our neighbors and we have a role in that community and we
Yeah.
feel like we're part of
Yeah.
something. But now I think a lot of people today, they look at life and they just have no idea what direction to go, and it's just so overwhelming.
Yeah.
And it's just very tough to tackle.
This is, about communities. This is a point that was made in the influential book 20 years ago by the political scientist Robert Putnam called Bowling Alone. And that's the phrase that stuck. It was a really good title. That American participation in civic organizations, bowling leagues, everything is much lower than it used to be. Bowling leagues, churches, neighborhood watch, whatever, is just lower. And it's not good for us. Fortunately, at least two of us have some civic participation. We belong to thriving jiu-jitsu communities. I do some other stuff that counts, and you probably do too. But yeah, it matters.
Yeah, but I think that's another thing psychedelics could help with people volunteering and feeling like maybe they have more of an impact in the world than they previously thought. I don't know.
Volunteering is great.
I really do think those things could really help change the world. And it feels weird for me to say because I'm sure people listen to it and think it's absolutely crazy, but I mean, I truly do believe it.
So when I have an idea that's really out there, to gain a sense of whether it's out there or it's accurate or it's true, I try to see if I can find other people who've had it, if I can find some consensus around it. Doesn't have to even be the dominant understanding. And that's just a reflection that there are a lot of people in the world who are much smarter than me, who are older than me, more experienced than me, who know about a lot of different things that I don't know about. And so I think, how does my idea hold up? Can I test it publicly? And so what does that tell you about your everyone should do mushrooms idea?
I don't think everybody should do them, but I think they shouldn't be criminalized in any way. Yeah. And I think they should be studied scientifically. For sure.
That's happening.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
But they should be taken off the Schedule I.
I agree.
Federal,
I agree.
I just don't think there should be a negative stigma around them. It's just like alcohol. Some people are gonna have terrible problems with them, and bad things are gonna happen. But a lot of great times with their friends with it.
But that's backed off a whole. Great time with your friend is a long ways away from making the world.
Well, it's a different substance, but I think there's going to be pros and cons no matter what. But locking people in cages for it isn't the solution.
I totally agree, but
yeah, and I know you do, but
yeah, that's it.
But
all right. Do you think we're at a reasonable closing point for this week?
Yeah, I got to go grapple.
Oh yeah, I got to go grapple in a bit too. Good on us.
Nice.
So we've sort of gotten away from recommendations recently, but I think that article in Politico, let's see if I'll Google it quickly so I can give you an exact title, is great, about the alt-right girl.
The one you just mentioned?
Yeah, I mentioned earlier.
Oh, yeah, okay, yeah.
Let me Google it and tell you the article. Shit, and I attempt to do so. Right. Why is this not working? Okay, yeah, here we go. It's in BuzzFeed. It's not political. It's in BuzzFeed News. It's called "Get Out While You Can," about Katie McHugh. It's really interesting about how a woman became part of the alt-right and then left the alt-right. Got anything you want to recommend?
The Dan Cummins Time Suck podcast. He's a comedian, so he's funny, he's entertaining to listen to. He has like characters and bits he'll do, but it's also very informative. does lots of episodes on. He's done on Stalin, KGB, lots of interesting things throughout history. So maybe you're not the type of person that can listen to a strictly educational podcast or talk because they might be boring to you, check that podcast out because from what I can tell, he's very well researched and factual.
Cool.
But it's also entertaining. So listen to the latest one on KGB, Time Suck with Dan Cummins. It is great podcast.
All right.
Thanks for listening.
Thank you. And as always, if you like what you heard, go on Apple Podcasts or wherever else you listen to your podcasts and give us a good review to grow our social media empire. And if you didn't like it, you have no taste.